Vikings, let's win this game. Skol, Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run up the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Skol, Vikings, let's go.
Welcome back to podcast number 2. This time we're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings in the 2015 season. Guess we'll start off with a little review. I think this year was a success.
I would totally agree. I think they did good, and really should have won their playoff games. I think Zimmer's getting them going very good.
Definitely the defense.
Which he was with the Bengals, and I know how he was, so I definitely like him. I think he's great for you guys.
Yeah, I mean they came in. I think they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and they were around top 5 somewhere this year.
He pretty much turned them around almost overnight. Not loud. I mean, they were in the middle of the pack, and he's getting his players in.
Yeah, last year went 7-9. This year, made a couple game improvement. I think won the division.
Well, yeah, that's huge. Beat the Packers in clutch. Can't beat that.
Yeah, I was a little worried if they'd be able to do it in prime time. But they beat the Giants Sunday night, and then they came back and beat at Green Bay. So they won the division and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
I think 2015 was a step in the right direction.
I agree.
They're building something that could be good.
I think you got a lot of good years ahead of you.
We can get into reviewing some of the players, I guess. Start with the most important position, which is punter. So, Teddy Bridgewater. What do you think as an outsider? How do you feel?
Well, I think he's coming on good, man. I know, that they had the offensive line troubles and stuff like that, but I mean, he's getting better. I mean, it's hard to be great your first year or two in the league. Look at, it's taken Andy Dalton about 5 years. Look at Cam Newton. He really got great on his 5th year and got into the Super Bowl. Another late bloomer that didn't really show a whole lot early in his career is Alex.
Definitely.
The Niners, now Chiefs.
They're kind of similar, actually, those two.
Yeah.
They're very similar.
Yeah, I agree. And
I mean, you had a high completion percentage. Yards per attempt weren't bad. You didn't turn the ball over a ton. I mean, they also didn't ask them to do much. They're more of a running team.
Yeah, I agree.
They can't really stretch the field when you.
He does hold. I mean, I know that he was getting sacked, but there was times he did. He has to get a little more quicker release too.
I agree.
think.
You got to get quicker release. Occasionally his elbow would drop and the ball would float.
Yeah.
I think he'll work on that. The quicker release, they did say he had a horrible release time, but some of that's, he hikes the ball and has to run from people. I think that skewed his numbers a little, but I agree. He did hold on to it sometimes.
I think some more improvement. We've talked about this. Is the deep passes got to get better, but I think too they got to call more of them.
Yeah, call more. He's got to have
Be
time
aggressive.
to throw it.
Exactly.
They need a receiver with a big wingspan.
Yep.
I mean, you got all these 5'10" guys. I mean, that works for Antonio Brown, but I mean, there's not.
Yeah, but he's easily one of the best in the league. So I mean,
I think he's
a special player.
He's smart. He studies.
I think he's in the right direction. I still think he's going to develop over the next 2 or 3 years, and I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. I mean, he's a guy that 10 or 15-yard passes, he can be on the money and drive you down. And with a good run game, man, you guys are set. He doesn't really make a lot of bad decisions, I don't think. I think he sees the field pretty well from what I've seen of him. I know you've seen a lot more, but
I've watched every snap. Occasionally he'll pat the ball right before he throws it, which is kind of a weird habit that you got to get rid of. And
that shouldn't be too hard working over the summer.
Yeah, he should be able to get rid of that. I think that almost might be him second guessing himself. He'll see the opening and he doesn't quite want to throw it. He doesn't want to turn it all over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what he's being coached to do.
And like you said, with the offensive line, 44 sacks.
Yeah,
I mean that's you can't have it anywhere near the low 20s, the mid 20s is what I would want, because you got to expect most quarterbacks average probably close to 20 sacks a year for over 16 games.
So fixed offensive line. I think I could see 20 touchdowns. 6. That'd be a good step.
I mean, he's still getting in the 3,000s. Maybe get 4,000. I mean, 65 completion. I mean, I'd take that any day.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can get into it. he's, we still got Adrian Peterson.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you're going to turn around and hand the ball. You got 327 carries this year, easily tops in the league. I mean, he's probably the last 3-down, running back, traditional old school guy. I mean, I don't know any other ones that are really like that.
Yeah, he's still the best in the league, and he might be one of the last of that, at least for. I mean, you never know. Maybe in 30 years he'll come back to a running game,
Yeah.
but yeah, he had a big year. I mean, do you want to go into him next here?
Talk about Adrian or McKinnon or
Adrian Peterson here.
I mean, yeah, he had 1485. His yards per attempt were a little bit down. I think his career average was 5 coming in. He's to 4.5, which it's still not bad behind that shitty line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he had almost 1,500 yards and
11 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, the fumbles he's going to have to. I guess at this point, it's just
it is what it is. He's not going to.
But I think he's the best back in the NFL right now, still over all these years. I don't think anybody can argue that. They must not be watching football, at least watching him.
He still can't block worth a shit, which leads me to think next year Jarrett McKinnon might be getting more third downs.
I agree. I think they need him to take more and get him more in the passing game too. I think they need to let him progress and get him more involved.
Yeah, he had 21 catches for 173 yards. McKinnon.
Yeah,
most of that was the last couple of weeks. I mean, he started really getting the ball over the last few weeks.
Well, plus keep AP upright and keep him. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting. And that leads to a question: will AP keep it up next year?
I think skill-wise he could, but I don't want him to. I think they need to go more to a throwing offense. I don't want to see 327 carries. Nobody in the league does that. I think he needs to get to like 275.
Yeah, I agree.
And Teddy needs to have another 75 throws or so. And I think that would be a better balance. They're moving indoors. I mean, that might help.
Yeah, that should help them.
Speed. That could also help the defensive ends rush the passer more. So that might hurt. But I think they need to rush Peterson. I would say 250 next year. Let him get 1,200 yards.
Yeah, I'd agree because over 300, they got it. I mean, he's like a beast for a running back being over 30 now, right? He's over 30, isn't he?
30,
yeah,
maybe 31.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it's something that he's going this long, and so I think you got to cut him back. To hopefully he'll last another couple of years for you. It's always good. I mean, he's a franchise player. Hopefully Teddy becomes that.
I would like to see McKinnon get 100 next year.
I'd see what he's made of. Yeah, see what he's made of. I totally agree.
Asiata is a free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I like him. He's a good special team player.
I mean, he could be a good number 3. He's been in your system. It's good to keep if they can get him cheap 1 or 2 year deal, couple year deal. Why not bring him back?
A good special teams player, and that 1 year Peterson was out. Him and McKinnon did okay.
And, I mean, this isn't really the greatest year of running backs if you want to draft a guy later in the draft or develop into a 3 or eventually a 2 guy. I don't think either. So maybe it's good to bring him back.
They'll definitely bring back Peterson this year. Next year, we'll do another podcast and discuss that then. But this could be his last year here, especially at that contract.
Yeah,
they got some other players.
And they could get probably really good solid season. I mean, sure, won't be as high as it would when with him younger, but
I will say this: the Vikings usually let their players play their contracts out. Even if it is a little more like the last year, Jared Allen. They let him play it, but they respected him.
Especially if anybody letting his contract play out as this guy. So.
I mean, he sold tickets for years. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's jump to the next question. The next thing is receiver, and this is really where I wanted to get talking to you about.
Sure it is.
First of all, I'm not a huge fan of your boy Mike Wallace, but let's jump into him. I mean, 39 catches. I mean, for supposed number 1, isn't really what you need. I know, he's probably did a lot of deep passes, and you've talked about it. And I know you're probably going to want to go into it more on that. But
yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, he was open on plays.
Mm-hmm.
People that watched the All-22 film, but either Bridgewater didn't hit him, he overthrew him. It's something he needs to work on, deep down passes. But also, Dawson's line would break down. He just didn't fit. I mean, this year, maybe if you wanted to come back for a cheaper deal, definitely not paying him $11.
I don't I never really saw Mike Wallace as a 70 to 80 or 100-yard reception guy, though.
No.
Anyways,
I mean, he can get 1,000 yards on like 50, 60 catches,
so
5, 6 touchdowns.
my question: do you think he would be is he a number one? I guess.
For the Steelers, maybe. I mean, someone that's going to launch the ball down the field all the time.
Yeah.
The Falcons or someone's a big arm quarterback. Definitely not here. We're more of a, methodically drive the ball down the field.
Yeah, I agree.
First
I mean,
downs.
I think it's a good idea to let him go unless he, especially like you just said, the money. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous on the money. So I think he's probably gone.
I'm cool with that. I was happy. He, apparently, from everything they said, he's really good in the locker room, talked stuff. He's a professional. Which for day, I got him for a 5th round pick. I mean,
Yeah, true.
It's all right. We need a big guy. We need a guy with a big wingspan. Someone that can Teddy can throw the ball up and not be that accurate.
Yeah.
He'll go up and snag it.
Like a Josh Doxson, and I know
Exactly,
that's my boy.
I'll take AJ Green.
Yeah,
6th round pick or something.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you a 7th too. Yeah, something like that. I mean, Diggs is awesome. I don't know.
Well, that's what I guess. Let me ask you a question on Diggs. I really did like him in the draft, and I was wanting the Bengals to take him, but you guys, I think, got him around earlier than what we were looking at him. Is he a number 1 or 2?
I don't know. Last year he came in the league and had like 4 straight of almost 100 yards or more.
But then he kind of disappeared.
And then, over the last, whatever, he only had 320. So teams kind of started to play him as the number 1 receiver, and he couldn't do it. Granted, he's still a rookie, and he had over 700 yards. I mean, we're not a passing team, so
yeah, 52 catches to have. I mean, that's pretty.
Stats, you can't really look at stats for the Vikings receivers and say if they suck or not because they just don't throw the ball that much. But I think we need a big guy. I mean, what Cordero should have been, the 6'2", big body guy.
And see, that's another guy that I'm really surprised, disappointed in CP. I know that's what we call him, but he's great on, I guess, special teams. But for a 1st round pick, I just don't think that's a good thing, and it's just unfortunate. What really bothered me is the Seattle game when the only scored was that, and he celebrated when they were 40-something to 7 at the time.
May as well have been. He just doesn't seem like he cares. He just wants the limelight. He's cool with making whatever hundreds of thousands, millions, getting pictures taken with fans. I don't think he really cares to be a good football player, which sucks. I liked him coming out of Tennessee. You remember that? I mean, I jumped off the couch when they drafted him, but
yeah, I remember that was something.
I don't know.
Well, and another question too of some other. Charles Johnson, what kind of happened to them? That especially with James Wright, I thought. Well, both of them, I thought they would take another step this year, but it just didn't feel like they did.
Yeah, Jerry's right, and he's one of those guys that always shows up when they need a first down. I like that. If it's 3rd and 6, he'll get the first down, and he'll always be that guy at slant routes.
So he's probably your number 3.
He's definitely a slot guy.
Yeah, number 3 guy.
Yeah, I actually really like him. Charles Johnson, I have no idea.
Was that just just a little stretch? He got hot type thing.
Yeah, after this podcast, I'm gonna call North Turner and find out why he didn't get, because that doesn't make any sense.
Well, even with CP, do more gadget plays like he did his rookie year. I mean, try to get his reverse, the reverse speed, in there. Him at running back sometimes. I mean, they got him there. He's fast. Try to get him in open field where he can see stuff. It seems like he does better at.
It seems like almost at this point, every time he's on the field, they know it's to him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of predictable. I think the best career move for him would be to become a running back. He can't run a route for his fucking life. So, put him in the backfield. He's got really good vision. Put him behind in a deep eye, or put him in a fullback and let him go. I think he could actually do that.
I agree with you. I think he could.
Same size as Peter.
You got him on your roster. Another year? Here's a question: would they not franchise, but would they do their tender tag 1st round thing on him? Because the money does jump up.
Yeah, no way.
So is this his last year with him?
Probably.
Because this is his 4th year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe year before summer. So yeah, 4th year.
4th year.
This will be. I think. He's definitely the best returner in the league. Has been.
I would. You guys have probably the best special team with him and Cheryl's.
Yeah, and they just brought him back.
Yeah, that's a good signing. We'll get into the signings later, but I guess let's move on to the tight ends a little bit, because this is another Kyle Rudolph.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be grinning. When you
Rudolph
talk about this.
Red-Nosed Reindeer. What is what's going on with him? I know you've talked before about him being more now having to go block,
Yeah.
but is he a top 10? Is he a top 10 tight end?
It'd be hard to name 10 tight ends better, but he's definitely somewhere around 10, somewhere in the 8 to 12 range. I would
Okay.
say.
I mean, well, he had 49 catches for almost 500 yards. I guess I'd probably rather him be in the 600 yards,
Yeah.
8 touchdowns at least. But I mean, he showed flashes his first few years. I know he's been injured
Yeah, a
and
lot of
stuff.
leg injuries.
So
Yeah.
hopefully you guys are going to need him, I think, to step it up big this year. It might be a good year to see if he's going to be your long-term tight end. Basically,
They signed him to a pretty good deal a few years ago, and he's that big. He's like 6'6" or something. He's that big body guy. He definitely seems slower than he did younger. I think.
and
It's 'cause of
maybe
injuries.
injured. And I mean, Pruitt's coming up. Their
Yeah.
other young, who's a rookie last year.
Yeah.
He could be more of a number 2 this year and kind of help out. Maybe you kind of not platoon him, but Pruitt could get a little more time in there. I don't know if you'll have more 2 tight end sets. It just depends on what you do in the draft with receiver.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, Rudolph was blocking a lot last year because their line was absolutely terrible. So
it's one of the worst lines. That reminded me of. So
Hackenberg.
yeah.
Sure love that. But I guess talk about the line a little bit. You know, our right tackle got hurt. You know, he didn't play all season. Phil Lovell. That's been 2 years in a row. So
what do you think of T.J. Clemens? Because I know is he a starter or more of a swing man backup type guy?
I just don't think he was ready last year. I think he needed to learn and get stronger. And I just think he got thrown into the fire there. I think give him a year on the bench here. You know, maybe we can bring in a free agent, or we got Phil back. He could probably still start even though he's older. But I think maybe in the future he's definitely a good depth player.
Well, I mean, yeah, even he was a. So even if he's your main guy to come in with injury or break rotation as their swingman tackle, if you will, I mean that's probably not bad for him. I mean, he wasn't a first rounder, and then of course you got John Sullivan. Hopefully he can be healthy all year because when he's out there,
he's
he
top
can.
5.
Yeah, centers in the league. I'd agree with that.
And he's a really good guy. Stuff I hear on the radio, but you know, he had a back injury and then he came back and was working out and hurt his back again. And now he's in his 30s.
Yeah, so that's a little.
I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess you probably. I mean, we'll get on free agency in a minute, but you're probably going to want to see what he does this year in center before you decide the future on that. And then
Joe Berger, he stepped in and he was
good to have depth.
He was PFF's like a top 1, 2, or 3 center, I think, last year.
Well, that's pretty. I mean, that's good. And they got him from the 49ers, right? In that trade, or is he?
No, they had him before. The guy they got from the 49ers, I believe, came from Nick Easton, I think.
Oh yeah. How did he play much at all?
He didn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least they got that backup at least this year.
Yeah.
Maybe not long term either, but I guess another question on the offensive line is Matt Khalil left tackle in your opinion?
Well, he's definitely left tackle. Is he, elite? Probably not. Is he consistent? Probably not. Is he good enough to play? Yeah. He's making over $11 million this year because it's a 5th-year option. He's probably not worth that.
Well, here's another question: if he stays where he is, or just declines a little, will he be back in the Vikings next 17?
If he declines, probably not. If he keeps going the way he is, or gets better, definitely.
Depending on the money.
Yeah, I mean, I could give him $7 million a year, $8 million.
Well, and we can get into free agency here in a little while in the draft, but Zimmer could still want to tackle in the first round to let him sit a year and replace him.
It's true. It is true. And I mean, they brought in a left guard recently, high to play next to Khalil, and I think having a player with that nasty, attitude next to him will probably help him.
Yeah, we'll talk about Alex Boone because I think that's and a few other tackle things that may run. So, okay, well, did you want to move on here and check out the defensive line?
Yeah, let's go for it. I want to start with Griffin.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of laughed when they signed Griffin.
Well, I want to interrupt you. I'll admit, I thought I always thought he was more of a rotational guy, starter, but not huge impact guy. But it definitely proved me wrong.
Coming up when he was behind Jared Allen, he was playing. They had him at linebacker a little bit, and they were trying him all over. He was like punt gunner.
Oh,
He
wow.
was. I mean, he's got crazy athleticism. So you can kind of see it here and there, but I don't think his attitudes go nonstop every play, every second, and never give up, and that really helped him out. He had 10.5 sacks, and he was just disrupting every play. It seemed like he's a really good player, and for being a Bengals fan, and Zimmer's defense, it's not all about stats.
Yeah.
Their players don't get a ton of stats. It's more team
But he had
effort.
10.5 sacks.
Yeah,
that's
even that.
Oh gosh, that's great. I mean, he's probably led your team in sacks, didn't he?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I mean, 44 tackles. That's still good for a defensive end. I think if you get in the 40s, I think that's solid.
Yeah, that's one thing I actually like him more. Jared was by far the sack master, one of the best I've ever seen play. And,
yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'm still kind of young, but
well, in the recent years,
that's
let's
what.
say
Yeah,
that.
it might.
We're talking about.
Yeah. But he sold out every play to get sacked the quarterback, where he would, you could run his way and run right by him because he was trying to get the sacks. Griffin, he'll wrap up the running backs too, which I like. That's something that I'm not used to seeing. Brian Robinson too, man. He had a decent year. He really did. He surprised me. He had 5 sacks.
Well, yeah. I mean, and he might have a rotational role because of Hunter. I think I told you about him. I really liked him last year, and I think he's going to be your stud next year.
I think so. He had 6 sacks as a rotational guy.
Yeah.
That dude is a freak, and he's athletic.
Did he have a fumble recovery?
Yeah, and maybe in a forced one as well. He's definitely Zimmer's type of player. Super athletic, fast. And I think one of the most underrated players on our team and underrated signings that we had a few years ago was Linval Joseph. That guy is a disruptor.
He's really I liked him at the Giants, but I never thought he would be like this. I think Zimmer's really getting out of him, which is impressive. And Floyd, I remember that was that same drive we talked about CP earlier, and then we'll talk about Xavier Rhodes in a minute. Wow, he fell on that draft.
Top 3.
Yeah, and he fell, so he's
because he had midget arms, they say. But he's looks fine to me.
Yeah.
He has had last 2 years. He's been injured a couple games, so I don't know if could this be flukes, and it hasn't been season-ending stuff, but he's had a few injuries. And our guy Tom Johnson was a backup defensive tackle. He came in.
Yeah, 36 5.5 sacks. That's pretty solid too.
That's 2 years in a row, man.
It's really good to have a third defensive tackle. You really need for injuries or rotation. But let me talk real quick about a defensive end here. It's really. I know this from a few Bengals. Is Scott Crichton. Yeah. He's kind of been a little bit of a discipline. He was second or third rounder, wasn't he?
I think he's third round.
Third round, yeah. He's from State. He's kind of been a little bit. If he'll even make the team, he's going to have to really step up this summer.
I think it's fine just to label him a bust.
Yeah.
I think at this point.
Would you say CP Cordell Patterson's a bust?
He's definitely a bust from where he got him, but I mean, at least he's still doing things. I mean, this guy can't even make the freaking 53.
Yeah, I mean, I when you put it that way, I agree. I mean, he's a bust in terms of first round, but at least having special teams helps a lot. I think still the returning game part of it, especially. I
mean, I don't have the draft pulled up right now, but I guarantee if we went back, there's players that went in the first round that aren't even in the league.
Well, especially the receivers that first. I mean,
I know Hopkins went that year, but Tavon Austin, he isn't.
No, and Hunter, Justin Hunter. Tavon Austin, I never thought he was the best receiver in that class. No. That was a joke, I thought. Yeah. I mean, he's done better as a gadget type guy. He's gotten a little better, but he's still not really. He's not a number one, that's for sure.
Maybe it would help if they got a number one.
Yeah.
That's probably the issue.
Yeah, with them especially. But
who cares about them?
Yeah, exactly. We're not. This ain't the Rams.
Linebackers?
Yeah, let's move on to linebackers.
I guess we'll start with my boy Anthony Barr. That guy's perfect.
Yes,
he's awesome.
He's just barely behind Burfict. I'm not saying he's better than Burfict, but he's going to be. He's probably in the top 5 linebackers. Wouldn't you say? I mean, I think. Yeah, this year he could. He's amazing, man. That was a great Zimmer draft pick for you guys. He's probably in his time his pick, I think.
Yeah, so far he's been lights out. I mean. He looks like a man amongst boys. I've seen him knock people flat on their ass. I've seen him split 2 blockers and make the tackle, and interceptions, sacks.
Yeah,
he's just always
3.5
showing
sacks.
up. Yeah, he's so long stride.
68 tackles.
Yeah, he's all over the place. And then his buddy Kendricks, that was his roommate in
Yeah,
college.
and
He
look
was
at
a steal in the second round.
and then look, Miles Jack coming out this year. They put out some good linebackers, but Eric Kendricks, 92 tackles, 4 sacks. I mean, he really for a rookie, yeah, he really was maybe a really great pick too. There, they got 2 nice future linebackers that will set you guys up for sure. Your defense.
And I think it helped that they have been playing together for a few years in UCLA.
Yeah,
kind of had
the
that
chemistry. Yeah,
and Greenway's old, and he's not even signed yet, but he played really well last year in spot.
Yes, he still had 68 2.5 sacks. So
he had like a 90-yard interception.
Yeah, I remember that. I think they need to bring him back on a 1 or 2 year deal and let him end his career with the Vikings.
I think so too. We got Audie Cole back, on a 1-year deal. Edmund Robinson, he was a late round pick. Actually looked okay too. I'm glad he's on the team.
Yeah, I'm in depth, and then we'll go in the former Bengal coming in here, Lemur. I'll tell you this. I mean, 1 year I think he had close to 91 tackles, and this last year he had 40 and missed some time. He's definitely can come in and help the special teams. And I wouldn't say he's a starter, but he can be a really good depth role player for you. And he did his best with Zimmer.
Yeah.
So I watch out for him. I think he'll help you guys out.
So moving on to corners. Xavier Rhodes is our number 1.
Another great draft that year. They took Floyd and him.
Yeah. He I don't want to call him soft because he's not, but he definitely needs pushed. Like, he gets a little quiet and stuff at times during the season. And
he needs to step it up a little.
And I've noticed he plays his best when he's 1-on-1. If you give him the assignment, hey, go cover Calvin Johnson, he studies those players and he does really well against them. He can shut down number 1 receivers.
Yeah, I've seen him do it. I think he's definitely your number 1 corner.
Oh, yeah. Really good at deflecting the ball.
Oh, hey, he had 58 tackles.
Yeah, he's an excellent tackler. Man.
Yeah,
long range.
I really like it when you have a cornerback that gets you tackles too.
Yeah.
I mean, 55 solo and only 3 assists. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Most of the time, they'll have 10, 14, 17 assists to get that total. That's a lot of solo tackles.
Yeah, a lot of his tackles are open field. If they get by him, they might be getting 20, 30 yards.
That's a very impressive number in my opinion.
He wraps them up.
And how many picks did he have?
I think he only had 1, or maybe 2 at the most.
I mean, we talked about this in the Bengals, that Kirkpatrick, he needs to come back to picking off. Yeah. I mean, that could be good for him, too. To get some more roads to get more picks last year. But I think that it's only up going for him. He's your probably either him or Harrison Smith. They're your 2 best secondary guys. So that's a great another, like we said with the linebackers in that area. That's good to have those
2 young guys. I'd really like for him to take the next step. I want to get a Rhodes clothes tattoo, but I got to wait for him to take the next step. I mean. And then, our other corner was Terrence Newman last year.
Yeah, former Bengal. I told you would like him.
Yeah, I had no idea, man.
Especially for his age. It's incredible.
Really good. I think he led our team in picks with 3.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he even dropped quite a few with Cincinnati, but he still got picks.
Yeah.
And he's another guy that will get you. I know you do with the Bengals. He'll get you tackles, 62 tackles, 52 solos. I mean,
a sack and a half.
Yeah. He did this with the Bengals. He gets you. He's solid, and we'll probably talk more about him maybe in the free agency. But I would say for a 1-year contract, we'll get to Trey Waynes here in a minute. But I think you need him back for at least another year for sure.
I agree
because he's not going to cost that much.
No, I think if he did come back, I think Trey Waynes would take over that number 2 corner.
Well, you could have Newman as the number 3 guy because I think he's better Captain Munderland personally.
Well, Munderland's going to be the slot guy. He's
true.
Always going to be in the slot, but he can come in when Waynes or Rhodes needs a break or whatever.
Yeah, and he's haven't they even used him a little safety, or they've talked about that?
Yeah.
So they could use him all over.
They started him in that Thursday night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he played all right. And they actually started Waynes that game.
You guys really had a lot of injuries. Smith being out.
I think Barr was out for a minute.
Yeah, and so was one with Floyd too, I think.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys out there that Seahawks game and the Arizona Cardinals. But I think Waynes could end up being good. He's really fast. He showed a little bit of had a pick in the Seahawks game, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm leery of him coming into the draft, but I think with Zimmer, he'll be okay. I think he could be a really good, solid number 2. And
so.
I guess, and when it comes to him, that's my question is he in number 2?
I think he can be. We've yet to see that, but I think he has the talent as long as he can keep progressing. I think I have pretty high hopes. Coming out of the draft, I really that was
Yeah,
my
he
guy.
was my favorite corner too, for sure.
Wayne's, I wasn't super excited, but I was okay with it.
Man, I know it's hypothetical, but if you had Peters, oh my gosh, your defense.
Oh man,
But
the one thing I hear about Peters is he bites on the ball a lot, so he does get 8 picks, but he also might allow 15 touchdowns because he misses.
true, I mean,
So-
if Wayne's can not give up that many touchdowns, I mean that's
Kind of make up for it.
yeah, for sure. And next year we'll know more about him and we can do a little more judge. But I think you got to give him a couple more years to develop. As long as you're seeing progress and promise out of him, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Go to safeties. Talk about Harrison Smith. He's on God level at this point at safety.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. He's definitely top 2 or 3 safeties in the league. I mean, name me more.
Earl Thomas, maybe.
Yeah, Earl Thomas. I hate to say it, but Harrison Smith's better than George Iloka, Reggie Nelson, all of the Bengals. But he's definitely, one of the top 2 or 3 safeties in the league. It's hard to name some more better.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. He had 6 tackles, which is actually a down year.
Well, he was injured too. He missed some games.
He was. He usually gets a lot of picks for us too. He had 2 this year.
But he had one for a touchdown.
He did. He's clutch. I don't like him. He can crush. He crushed Kaepernick week 1.
That might not have been a good game for you guys.
That wasn't a good game. That was a good play.
I remember watching that with you. But
I think he injured Matt Forte. You don't want to root for injuries, but it was a legal hit. He's just a hard hitter. He can cover. He does everything. He fits Zimmer's scheme. And we re-signed Andrew Sudejo.
Yeah, I think that I was a little critical at first, but he had 74 tackles.
That's what he does, man.
So half a sack even. So I mean, it's good to have that depth for sure. And I think I'm coming around more on board. It's a little bit of money for him, but keeping continuity is huge.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. $4 million a year. He's going to make tackles. He is a little bit of a liability in coverage sometimes, but the last 3 or 4 games, last month of the season, he was one of our best players on defense. Like he was doing a lot of good things. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. Maybe.
And I think he's better in that role in free agency here in a minute because they brought in the safety, and you never know about the mid rounds and the draft too. They may take a safety, for future. But
that's true.
Yeah, I think that was a decent sign.
Yeah, well, we could talk about special teams for.
I was going to say we need to get.
Well,
because I was just wondering. Well, let's talk about the Blair Walsh. I know he can make 50-yarders, but he had problems with extra points. And we won't really talk about the playoff. It was hard for me to talk about I was here with him watching it too, like he watched the Bengals. That wasn't good. Not missing that 27-yarder.
No, that left me speechless for a while, and I didn't even watch the rest of the playoffs.
I'm starting to get 2 losses, so you might be joining me, former Bengals associate.
Yeah.
So
they signed Blair Walsh long term last year, I believe. I'm okay with it. He still led the NFL in kicks.
And he's young. I think he might. So, what about Jeff Locke? What do you think about him as your punter?
He had a 23 inside the 20, so he pinned them down. But his average is 41.6. I'm not too sold on that. He doesn't have a lot of power.
Like I agree. It doesn't really look great that this year, though.
Probably not. I don't even know if there's a punter coming out.
Yeah, it's hard. Drafting a punter and a kicker is hard for me. And maybe late rounds, but
I don't know. They are moving indoor. It was super cold there.
He might do better indoors.
If you can get that average up around 45 or so, I would be a little more impressed.
Yeah, let's just give him another year and see what he does.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
One thing I'll say, though, is he has a good and, we didn't have a lot of returns on us, so that could be why they, if you kick it 41 yards, but you're only allowing 2 yards of return versus 45-yard kick, if you're allowing 10 yards of return.
It kind of makes it better a little bit.
I guess I would say that.
I mean, it shows you how good your defense part of it might be.
Yeah. And our
He has good
returners,
hang time.
I think we have the 2 best returners in the league.
Yeah, Sherrills and Patterson. I totally agree. There's no doubt about that.
That's probably enough special teams that I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to free agents.
free agents.
You've had a busy the first couple of days when it's began.
Yeah, we signed. I think the biggest and most important one was getting Alex Boone. That guy's a freak.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think on the Buckeye, I mean,
Yeah, he's used to winning. I mean, they won there and won a lot of Big Ten stuff, and then he even made it to the Super Bowl with
the
San
49ers,
Francisco.
yeah, he's been solid for them. I wonder that. I don't understand why they let him go, but they had money, cap space. But we're not talking about the 49ers.
Yeah.
But I think that's huge. He was a right guard, but moving him to the left, like you said, to Khalil, I think you really need that. I think he needs to be on the left side to help him Khalil out.
Yeah, and Bridge.
Yeah.
Well,
especially Bridge.
Yeah. Well, our offensive line coach is Tony Soprano, and he was the tight ends coach for San Francisco, which may have been the connection.
And so he might have whistled and, hey, Mike Zimmer. Spoke in his ear. So
and they only, $6 million a year, 6.5, whatever it was. That's not that bad.
No, that's not that bad. Like we said this in the Bengals podcast, especially with the crazy money that's getting spent this year.
And that's one thing I'll give the Vikings on free agency is they didn't have a bad deal. Like every one of their deals were pretty good. They were either cheap or short or not a lot guaranteed. Or
good contracts. That's like with the big. He's learning from Marvin Lewis, of course.
Yeah, Spielman's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably more. Spielman's done that for a while. He's really a great general manager for you guys. I mean, I know he picked years ago, and I always bring this up to you, the Christian Ponder thing, which blew. Yeah. I got on you then. I still bring it up to you, but I think since then he's done a great job. And I was really impressed. We said that year they got the 3 players in the first round. Yeah. I know one's not really working out, but he's
2 out of 3. I mean,
hey, come on. I mean, it's hard for a lot of teams to get out of 7 picks 2 good players.
Yeah.
So
I'm cool with that. They re-signed backup Carter Bykowski. He was like a fan favorite type of guy in training camp. He's probably he's going to battle for a spot. But
brought back their guard too.
Yeah, what's Michael Harris? Yeah. He actually had a good year. He'll probably battle Fusco for that right guard spot. Okay. Fusco was really good at right guard. They got
we didn't really talk.
Which is a college I never heard of.
Yeah, I kind of heard of it, but more just from Madden.
Yeah.
So
he had a really good, thing going at right guard, and they signed him to like, $5 million a year, $4 million a year for a couple of years, and then they moved him to left to help Matt Khalil out, and he kind of struggled.
Moving him back to right, probably be the right.
I'm kind of worried they're going to mess him up by keep moving him back, because you got to think about it. Everything switches. And you're used to leading with one foot, and you got to lead with the other, and your body, everything's the opposite when you switch. So
that's what they got training camp for.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll be an easy switch. I could see Harris winning it, and Fusco being a good guy for.
Yeah, and you might want Harris to win it. Isn't he a little younger? Get him in there, or are they about the same age?
I actually think.
Is he really?
I believe so. Because Harris played for San Diego for a
little while. I kind of remember now what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So, that was good. I think they still might bring in. It wouldn't surprise me if they brought in Andre Smith from the Bengals.
Yeah, I was wanting to go there next. I think I was wanting to tell you, I think that would be – they really need to bring him in for right tackle and load – I mean, could he move to guard?
Nah.
He's more of a tackle.
He's huge.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he might even be done.
If he's done, or he'd be your swing man for this year, one more year. But I think bringing Andre Smith would be the icing on the cake
for this offseason.
For your line. That opens up the too, which we'll talk here in a little bit about.
Yeah, they still have Red Ellison and Matt Asiata. Pending the deal, I would love to have Red Ellison back.
I agree.
I don't know if you knew this, but he was injured for that Seahawks game in the playoffs. He didn't play. It was some really bad, like ACL, MCL type of his leg. So he was very important to our run game.
Is he kind of like a fullback tight end hybrid?
Yeah, he's mainly a blocker here and there, but he's mainly a really important guy. He frees up. If you watch a lot of Peterson's breakaway runs, he's the guy making that lead block. Or Zach Line, one of the two.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, at least you got Zach Line back.
Yeah. Asiata, we probably already hit on that. I mean, he's a good special teamer. I would like to see him back.
He'd be a good, solid number 3 guy for you.
Yeah, if they don't bring him back, draft someone.
Yeah, I guess you could take a shot on somebody late, you might take him. It's not the strongest running back class, but there might be a few. And then I was wanting to ask you too about Robert Blanton. Do you think they should bring him back since they already did Sadejo?
No, I think he's gone. I think Robert Blanton's gone. I don't think Zimmer cared much for him. I think Josh Robinson's gone. They got him in the third round.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of him. You know that.
He had a good rookie year under Frazier. He got a couple picks, and then they moved him to slot. He looked like ass, and he just hasn't been that good since. So.
Well, and then I guess we kind of already touched upon it. I think they should bring Newman and Greenway back for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say they should bring both those back on a 1-year deal.
I totally agree.
Maybe $2 million apiece, something around there.
Yeah, give him one more year. I think they got him, especially Newman. I think they both got him in one more year.
Yeah, they just signed Marcus Sherrills today, which I'm happy about. I don't know what the deal was, but I think he's worth it.
Yeah, I think just for special team alone and for depth.
Yeah.
So. Well, do you want to move on to the draft here?
Sure. They picked 23rd.
Well, I guess at this point, let's say we don't know yet if Andre Smith or what they're going to their tackle. But whether they do or not, I guess you never know. They still could, for Khalil, if he's on a free agent, they could go after Conklin or the Buckeye guy.
Yeah, Taylor Decker.
Yeah, Decker. Yeah, that's right. I like both of those guys, and they could. One of them could be there.
I do too.
But I know your prize is Josh Doxson, and I want him too. So I know we're going to be really watching that the draft.
Yes, Doxson or Treadwell will be amazing in the first round.
Let me say this: I really like Coleman, but I what you said. You got Diggs already. Yeah. You need more of the taller, and Doxson can go up and grab the ball if it's not totally accurate. And if Treadwell somehow fell. I don't know how they could take Doxson over Treadwell. Yeah. But either one of those guys, I think they're the two best receivers in the draft. Then Coleman, they already got one like him and Diggs, I think.
Oh, another thing they could do is they could still target that guard, Cody Whitehair from Kansas State.
Man, I think he could be solid, but I think he's in second rounder. I don't think he's shown me enough to be a first rounder.
Really?
I could be wrong, but I got a feeling on him that he might not. I don't know. I just don't trust him.
He had a horrible bench press, which seems to me to be kind of important for him to be able to
especially
push.
A guard, I think.
But if for some reason they took a guard, it is possible that if Khalil didn't work out, Alex Boone can swing out the tackle. So
yeah, another thing, his footwork at the combine was not very good. He definitely went down.
It seems like his hype has fallen.
Yes, I think it is, and I mean he could work on that. But I'd be a little second round if he fell that far in the second round.
Or trade back.
Yeah, that might be a better. I wouldn't take him 23rd in the first round.
Well, I would. For me, I prefer. I'm a fan. I want the exciting pick. I want Doxson.
Yeah, I agree.
If they go Taylor Decker.
Hey, taking from my experience, I'm agreeing with what the Bengals did last year with the two tackles, and you might if they take one of them this year. I mean, they'd be redshirted, but that will help you long term.
And if they do get the tackles, I would like them to come back in the second, get Tyler Boyd from Pitt. I love Sterling Shepard, but he's another 5'10".
Yeah, I think Boyd would really go well with Diggs. I'm not sure if Boyd and Shepard are number ones, and I don't think Michael Thomas would fall if Will Fuller.
Yeah.
But I mean, you almost got to take Boyd at that point. The second, he won't be there in the third. I'd be surprised. Maybe early third. But I'd be surprised.
They better not take Braxton Miller. That guy's Cordero Patterson Jr.
Yeah, and I told you this big time that he shouldn't even be in the first 3 rounds. Yeah. I think the 4th round would be fine. But I'm just not sold on him. I mean, he wasn't the great route runner in college. How's he going to do it in the pros?
Yeah, he just didn't have enough time. Maybe if he came in as a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he could. Yeah, he still needs to develop. He's so raw. I mean, special teams, I think he could be good, and then in the backfield doing trick plays and stuff. But I just don't trust him.
I agree. I think it wouldn't surprise me if they went defensive line or even. I don't want a linebacker, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know at that spot. I mean, I know there's a guy called Rex Missouri that's solid at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know Sue Cravens if he'll fall to that far, but he'd be probably the one that would be the best in that situation if he falls. Because I think a lot of the good top linebackers is going to be the first round. Of course, what about Jason Smith?
Yeah.
There's his career could be in trouble with the nerves, but he's going to be all out next year.
Oh, Jalen
Smith. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm glad you corrected me there. But that could be somebody to
Yeah.
red shirt, and then you'd have three really good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't technically need three good linebackers anymore, but I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Another thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they went defensive tackle just because, they're already paying Linval Joseph a lot of money, and I believe Sharif Floyd's coming up for a contract. Do you really want to pay two defensive tackles a bunch of money when you got Griffin paying?
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I mean, it would really. I think even by the second round,
Yeah.
this is a great year for defensive line, offensive line, especially defensive tackle. I think. So I could see that, and if he does help a little bit in the rotation this year, that's fine. I mean, it would stink to let Floyd go, but if it's the money's not there, you have the best player at defensive tackle available and take him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I mean, with Zimmer there and Spielman's crazy, you never know. They could trade up or trade back or do anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. At the end of the day, I want to receive it. But I don't
I think
want
you
to
guys. I think you guys. I think the first round is really where to get the other rounds you almost reaching, especially after the second round. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Higgins from Colorado State that you could maybe take at the end of the third round, but I don't know. He's not. I don't think he's a number one. So I don't know. I just think you're gonna have to try to get Dawson or Treadwell. I think for a number, for the height that you want, because Coleman could be really good, but he might not be the size with Diggs. And
Yeah.
and do you want to get Michael Thomas there? Is that a little bit of a stretch?
Probably.
I think it probably. If he fell to you guys in the second round and you didn't take one in the first, I would definitely pick him because he would be a steal.
Sure. I think that's something they need to look into because you never want to reach, but at this point you have. I mean, you cannot go into the season with Diggs and then Jarius Wright. I mean,
yeah, and that's what I was saying in the Bengals.
Yeah.
They in the first round they almost. I really would love some of these defensive players. We talked. I don't want to get into that here on this one, but you almost got to be a little aggressive. It would help Teddy. Teddy needs another receiver. I think you got to be more aggressive this year, and I think you really need to go in the first round. Especially, I would go hard out, and that will kind of help your line. You could always. There's some better offense. There might be a few good centers later in the draft that I was kind of hoping the Bengals would do that. Maybe you could do and let them develop a year. And then
that's what I was hearing. We got Sullivan real late, 6th round or something like that.
Yeah, because there's that Missouri center, I think. So I think it's going to be, if you guys can get Smith, that will really open. I think the receiver would probably be your number one thing to do after that.
I think so. And like you said a minute ago, you got to get Teddy Bridgewater the good. Now you got to give him a big time receiver, and then if he still is not progressing, then you got to start to wonder if he's the right guy. So.
Well, and let me just say this too, and you know how I was with Andy Dalton, kind of. I know you weren't high on him, at least at first. You really got to have a little more patience. I think Teddy is going in the right spot, progressing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, as long as he's still looking better next year. I think you still got to give him a few more years. I think,
sure.
But you definitely got to get him some more weapons.
Hey, you won't know until you get him weapons.
So, and the rookie receiver might not be huge impact at first, but then look at Cooper. I mean, look at the last few years of Beckham. Yeah, I mean it's really a good time for receivers. I mean, I know this isn't the strongest year, but there's a few there in the first round I think that could help them.
You want to get into 2016 prediction?
Yeah, let's go to prediction. Well, it's your team. Why don't you go ahead?
2016, we won the division last year. I think we win it again. I don't see Green Bay getting any strong. I mean, they'll get Jordy back, which is impressive, but that defense is still. The Bears are trending with that coach in there. The Lions are.
I don't know what
Lions.
Marvin.
I think they'll win the division again. I think this time, I don't think it'll come down to weeks. I could have I bleed purple, and I probably have my purple shades on right now, but I'm saying 12-4, division win, in the new stadium, hang another banner. And I think I don't know if 12-4 is good enough for a bye. I mean, you got Arizona, Seattle, you got the Panthers again. I don't know if 12-4 gets you by, but it's got to get you close.
Yeah, I think if they go 12-4, I think they got at
I
least
say
the second.
12-5. 12-4.
If they go 12-4, I think they at least get the second seed.
Yeah.
Arizona, Palmer, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But what do you think they'll go? How far in the playoffs? I know it's kind of a hard question because they are a young, upcoming team. But
I'm going to say they make it to the NFC Championship. I'm going to say, if they get a bye, they get 1 win. If they don't get a bye, they'll get 2 wins. But I don't think they'll make the Super Bowl. But I will predict here and now that within 3 they'll play in a Super Bowl. I don't know if they'll win it. But I honestly feel like with the coach they got, how good the GM's drafting, and how smart he is at bringing in players not overpaying, and just the core they got on D, I think within 3 years they should easily, not easily, but they should be at least, playing for a Super Bowl chance. I think in the NFC, even though the Panthers are up and coming, they're young, Seahawks are still young. I think Arizona will eventually fall off, but I think those 3 teams are going to be the young teams that are really good. And Green, obviously, Rodgers never going to go away.
yeah, I agree. I think. Well, I agree. In the next couple of years or so, they might be more of a legit shot at a Super Bowl. I can see them trending that way. You better hope that Zimmer didn't bring the Bengal woes in the playoffs with him. But yeah, I guess I could see 12-4. I'm going to go with 11-5. I guess right now, I think they win the division. I don't see, like you said, with the Packers defense. I just don't. And see, I think Ted Thompson's making a mistake. They should have been a little more aggressive. I totally agree with the drafts and stuff, but he should have done a little more Elway and got a defensive player or two because I think they could have been on the cusp. Anytime you got Aaron Rodgers and like you said, Jordy Nelson, and you got to think same kind of thing with. You hope the Bengals with Hill gets better. If Eddie Lacy loses some weight, you got to think he's going to get better shape and get better. So, but yeah, I think they will probably make the playoffs as a wild card again. But I could see the Vikings just with that defense starting to get to him. Watch the tape at the end of the season with the Cardinals and how they got to him. I think that would be good. I'm sure Zimmer will attack him. He will. In terms of playoffs, I could see them winning a playoff game. The championship, I'm not sure they're quite. Let's wait until see what the draft. I guess the draft will be important, but I could see them getting to the divisional round for sure, and maybe making a push for the championship. But I agree, they're not quite ready for Super Bowl yet. But give them another couple of years, the way they're drafting, and Teddy developing and getting those nice core receivers in there. I could see them going to the Super Bowl and losing to the Bengals. I could see it.
Of course.
So,
all right, so I guess that wraps up our Vikings podcast here. We'll probably be doing a few more. I don't know if we're going to do more teams. We might.
Might do a first mock draft here, then do one more actual draft.
Definitely do a mock draft. I mean, we'll be. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you then.
All right. See ya.
Bye.